M3. We're now onto a G80 M3, and this time from Alpha Models. So we've got some clean off first. There's quite a few separate resin pieces to this car. We've got a bit of carbon trim to add as well. And sadly, these side skirts don't fit. They're too short. Quite common in these kits. I think it's when the resin shrinks, but as you can see, they are short. So I was thinking, what options have we got? And the option that came up best was, we'll sand the wheel arches a little bit. So we'll just put a little bit of an angle on them at the bottom, ever so slight. It's not really noticeable at all on both sides. And that way, we'll get the side skirts to line up properly. Is it the best way of doing it? Probably not. Will it work? Yep, it will. And as you can see, with a little bit of sanding, these fit much better. And we'll just keep taking it off until everything lines up. But about there is about perfect. So we've not really reshaped it too much, but enough to get them to fit. So a quick check on both sides, make sure they fit after a bit of work, and they look spot on. Now we're going to leave these off because these are going to be carbon fibered, as well as the rear diffuser, wing mirrors and bits and bobs. And what we're going to do is go around with our Holly scriber. I think this is the 0.2 I use here, and go around, just make the panel lines a little bit more pronounced, a little bit deeper. They're already quite well pronounced on the kit, but it's just something I do out of habit on near enough all my kits now. It's a quick 5-minute job, and it just adds a bit more depth to the panel lines. Beautiful clean mould on this body, as usual from Alpha. Just having a little bit of a tidy up of where it's sanded there as well with a sponge. Make sure we're all nice and even and equal. But yes, really nice casting from Alpha. It's one of the one of the bigger grille BMWs, which I know a lot of people aren't keen on. I wasn't at first, but they're growing on me now. And this car, trust me, at the end of this video, is going to look absolutely stunning. So stick with it, take away the big grills, and we'll see what we're left with. We're going to keep the body with 3000 Tamiya sanding sponge, and that way we remove any slight blemishes there might be. There isn't any on this at all. It's a beautiful clean body. And we also key the body ready for primer. That way we're putting thousands of micro abrasions in the finish, which allows the primer to grip better, and should reduce any risk of any issues at all. But just a quick go over, scuff it all so you lose that shine. We'll also get rid of any contaminants that might be on there, which we will fully do in a minute with our brand new Pro Scale degreaser. Look at that, pre-paint degreaser from Pro Scale. Yes, myself and Simon Shorey have started our own business selling car modelling paints and accessories, 2K and what have you. And yes, this is a bit of a showcase of our products. So from start to finish, this will be our pre-paint degreaser, our primer, our paint, our 2K, our interior flock, lots of our products. What we're going to do on this is we're going to go around with an old toothbrush with some of our pre-paint degreaser on it and just clean up all the parts. Resin is cast, so it does have a mold release on it. You can often feel it and see it on the resin. So go over it with a toothbrush and then a nice soft cloth or a piece of tissue and just wipe off any nasties that might be there. This is an alcohol-based degreaser. Works absolutely fantastic. And like I say, we've got around the toothbrush first, getting all those little nooks and crannies. I'm going at this like a madman. Yeah, you need more cleaner on there, Paul. Put a bit more on. There we go. That's better. There we go. Like I say, alcohol based, it will evaporate. So just get it all nice and cleaned up. And then nice bit of tissue, just get in there gently and wipe away any excess to a nice clean finish. Now we need to mount this body and we'll give it a final wipe over at the end. But for now, we're just trying to get any nasties off from anywhere that we're going to paint. And that way we know we've got a really good base for our primer. So there we go, that's all done. We've got some 3M sticky pads in some strategic positions underneath. I don't like putting the rattle can or spray can on the roof of these cars because the roof is quite it's not the best place to be mounting things. So I like to mount underneath where the resin's thickest. And the way I do it is usually bridge across the rear where the axles would be on the real car. Use some tongue depressors cut to the right length with my Zoron cutters. And make a little bridge across. And then we can interlink that with 2 longer tongue depressors on an old bottle, as can be seen here with more of these 3M pads. The 3M pads are excellent. They're in my Amazon store, link down below. They're all very, very sticky. They work absolutely fantastic. And they hold everything really well. And like I say, because we've been holding it as well, we give another final wipe over with the pre-paint degreaser from Pro Scale. And that way we know any nasties, any fingerprints, any oil marks, any residue, mold release, anything that might have been there is gone, and give our primer and our paint the best chance we can get. As I always say, preparation is key. It is what makes or breaks a model, in my opinion. And there we go. Pro Scale Grey Microfiller Primer. And this isn't out yet. It will be this coming week in several colours. This is the very light grey, and it is a nice light grey, as you'll see in a minute. We will have white, light grey this colour, a normal grey, a black, and a pink. They will all be released this week. So keep an eye on our Facebook page, which is linked in the description of the video down below. It's a microfiller primer, so it's more suited for spraying on car bodies. 3-4 light coats, 20-25 psi through a 0.3 or bigger needle. Let it dry. Dries in minutes. Literally dries right before your eyes. Flat it back with a nice 3000 grit sponge, and it's as smooth as a proverbial baby's bum. It really is a phenomenal primer. It goes down really well. It is a lacquer-based primer, so it is a little bit smelly. So make sure you got your respirator on, gloves on, your spray booth on, and what have you. I've sped this up for quickness, but it covers really well. And this is a beautiful tone of grey. It's a nice light grey. I often think, although the greys are a little bit too dark, so it's nice to get a grey primer that's a little bit lighter. And like I say, we will have a darker grey coming out as well, and that way we get the best of both worlds. But yeah, 3-4 light coats. I think I put 3 on this. It is more than enough. You don't need to go heavy. There's no need to go heavy at all. You'll see as you spray it, it is quite a thick primer. But as you can see, those panel lines have lost no definition at all. We've not hosed on the primer. It's just a really nice, usable body primer for cars. I do really rate this. And I've so far primed, I don't know, a good half a dozen cars with this so far. And it's been working out absolutely fantastic. So, like I say, 2, 3, 4 light coats. You can judge that where it needs. I did 3 on this off the top of my head, and it just builds up beautiful. Like I say, even though it's a microfiller, it doesn't take away any of the detail at all. But once you sand it, my, does it go smooth. Wait till you try this stuff and sand it. You'll be blown away how smooth it goes. It is beautiful. Like I say, dries in minutes. Let that dry for a few hours, and then you can come back and flat it back. I've got a Tamiya 3000 grit sponge, which is one of my favoured sponges for body prep. It's just a nice, innocuous grade grit sanding sponge. This one's been well used. It's done several cars now. I'm just going to go around. Be careful of any raised areas. You don't be taking the primer right off. All we want to do is take the top layer off, remove the high spots, and end up with a really nice smooth surface for our paint. And just go around systematically every area, all your A, B, C pillars, all the doors, the top of the doors, the sills, everywhere, until you've got a nice even primer coat all round. As you can see, it is a really nice light grey. So like I say, we will have a full range of colours. They are due out this week. The date today is the 19th, so this week coming. I plan to get all these ready and for sale, and we'll get the prices up on the Facebook page when they're ready to go. Once you've sanded it all back, as you can see, lovely and smooth, no loss of definition, no loss of panel lines. We'll get a toothbrush in and clean out all those panel lines of any dust and give it a blow with the airbrush. And now here we are with our Pro Scale BMW Snapper Rocks Blue. 30ml bottles of paint, they are £4 a bottle. Instructions are on the back. We give you an instruction sheet with every order as well to explain how to spray them. Give it a really good shake. You want a 0.2 or bigger airbrush. I think a 0.3 is the perfect size for this. Give it a good shake up, give it a good mix up, and you see I'm using my pipette to suck up the paint and blow it back in. That way we make sure we get it all mixed up. And if you're adding extra paint to the colour cup when you run out, make sure you give it a really good mix up as well, so you get all the pigments, all the metallic flakes all mixed up well. Tamiya anti-static brush now. Give it a final wipe over. We give it a quick dust over with the airbrush as well with just air. There we go. And then we're at about 18 psi. We're going to put down several light coats. So I'm going to show one light coat to begin with. And the key to this is light coats. There's no need to go heavy. There is no benefit of heavy coats. You will get better coverage with 6 or 7 lighter coats than 3 or 4 heavier ones. It's not how these paints work. They're not supposed to be hosed on. You're not supposed to get any shine from these. They are not leveling. They're not filling. All you want to do is get the colour down. And the best way to do that is slowly and steadily with multiple coats. Now, off the top of my head, I think I put about 6 coats on this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the first coat, just showing you how I'm spraying. This is my 0.3 Iwatta Revolution. I've switched from my HPC airbrush because the pattern, the spray pattern, although it's a 0.3, is a lot finer than the Revolution, and it's much more suited this airbrush for painting the cars. And I've now moved to a 0.5 Revolution for 2K, and you'll see how that works out later on. Works out absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to show you the first light coat, and as I say, we're not trying to get any coverage at all. We're just trying to get a nice even coat down all over. And like I say, what we don't want to do is put down heavy coats at all. These are a lacquer based paint. They are quite a hot paint, so you've got to be careful putting them down. Not so much on resin, but on plastic parts. You don't be hosing it on. Light coats is the key with any of these automotive based colour match colours. Ours is a lot more forgiving than many. Our paints are 50-50 paint and thinner. Some others out there are a lot less paint and a lot more thinner, which ultimately makes them hotter. But for us, we've gone for the mix to make the ultimate paint rather than going just for profit. And that's just being totally honest. It's just the way our little ethos of the company, or mantra, is that the right word? I think it is to provide a quality paint rather than just over thin it to make more money. So as you can see, it's going down well. We're getting some good coverage there. Get all these nooks and crannies. There's plenty on the front, including those massive grills. Oh, there's my glove. Oh dear, I don't know who that was at. I think I was in the spray booth with the lads in the hangout there, probably communicating. But there we go. Like I say, make sure you pay attention to those wheel arches, the sills, in and around the windows, all the different angles. But you can just see how light a coat of paint I'm putting down. It's not going on heavy at all. It really isn't. Don't worry if you don't get full coverage. You are going to get lines and striations in it because it's just the nature of painting, how it works. Like I say, we don't want heavy coats, just really nice thin coats. Build it up slowly and you will get a much nicer finish overall. So get your first coat down. Like I say, I've sped this up. What I'm going to do then, as well I've done in other videos, is just show one side of the car being painted for each coat, and that way we get through the build quicker and you can see how the colour goes down over several coats. Once you've done your coat, put it to one side for 5-10 minutes to let it flash off, and then come back and just keep putting light coats down and alternate from side to side to up and down, and that way you'll get in all those nooks and crannies, all the panel lines. And don't forget to do underneath, around your front and rear bumpers, around the side skirts, the wheel arches, and in and amongst those windows as well. So there we go, there's our first coat down. We're coming in now with our second one. This could actually be our third because my next coat would have been up and down, and it does look like I've got a bit more coverage there, so I might have missed my second coat. So I'm going to say this is the third coat now. And as you can see, we're spraying a much finer pattern of spray. We're not trying to get loads on there. We've slowed the brush down a little bit, so we're getting some nice coverage, and we come back from the model a touch as well. So we're getting that nice atomization and coverage of paint. And like I say, build this up and you'll see each one of these colours change after every coat. And there we go, there's the up and down. And all you're going to do is slowly add to the tone of paint as you go through it. It's the best way to build it up, and it will ultimately give you the best paint finish at the end. Patience is key here. Don't rush this. It's a fundamental part of the car, the colour. So you do not want to be rushing it at all. So I reckon this is coat number 4. You can start to see the colour come to life now. Apologies for the camera going out of focus. It focuses on the airbrush as it passes through. As you can see, I'm not hosing the paint on. We're just going with nice, even passes as we go. If you angle it towards the light a bit, you'll see your paint landing on the model. And there we go. So I reckon I had about 6 coats on it, 6 to 7 coats. We've let that dry for a good few hours. It's touch dry in minutes, but before you do any masking or anything, let it off gas for a bit, let it dry. And we're back now, and we're going to paint our windows. So on the Alpha models, because they have acetate glass that goes from the outside, I've made the mistake in the past of not pre-painting the windows black. Put the glass in and you can see the colour through the glass. So always mask this up beforehand. It's a tedious job, especially when you're itching to get to things like decals or 2K. But trust me, this is an hour well spent, and it will give you a much better finish in the end. And it saves a job later on. And not only that, your black paint will be under your 2K rather than on top, and that will give your CA glue better grip when gluing in acetate windows. So this is the main reason I do this now. And in case you're using Tamiya 1, 2 and 3mm tapes to get the main panels done, and then the 6, 10 and 18 to infill everywhere else like so, then I like to use cling film or saran wrap or sandwich wrap, whatever you call it in your country, to infill the larger areas, and that way we're not wasting tons of tape and we're not wasting well, just not wasting time sitting there putting dozens of coats of little bits of tape on. It's much easier. We've got some Mr. Servicer 1500 black. We're on about our second coat here, and we're just doing nice light coats. We're about 15 psi for our Iwata HPC Plus. And all we're doing is getting all the angles to make sure we get all the black where we require it. As you can see, that's looking good. Make sure you get everywhere covered up. Be literally really anal over it and make sure you get everywhere covered up, because you don't want to overspray of black on this blue. And when you unmask it nice and slowly and carefully. And any tape you put down, make sure you de-tack it. You don't be putting full strength tape down on paint, because you always run the risk of pulling paint off or damaging things. And there we go, perfectly masked windows, job done. Now, unlike the other BMW I've just done lately, the Kitbox one, this one came with a pre-cut carbon decal for the roof. Now, it's a bit confusing because it took me a few turns of the decal to figure out which way it went, because it's very similar, but I think I got it on the right way. And I did need to cut it at the end. It went over the roof rails just a little bit, but having it cut was definitely better than not having it cut. Being hobby design, it was a really nice high quality carbon fiber decal. So no problems here. So get it on, get it lined up equally where you want it. And then use your brush. I've just got water on this to begin with, just to push out any excess fluid from underneath the decal. And then we come with our decal solution to choice, which for me are Ultimate Modeling Products Decal Solutions. They are simply the best. I actually did develop them, and they work absolutely fantastic. We do a strong, medium, and a extra strong in them, and they work absolutely fantastic. So once we've got rid of all the excess moisture from underneath, just keep brushing it out. We now need to get rid of all the creases. So we've got a nice clean piece of kitchen paper, and we're just wiping it over, and then with some strong UMP decal solution, we can start setting the decal in place. Wipe off any excess that you drip off or what have you. Don't let it pool on the paint. And our goal now is to set the decal in all those areas, get rid of all those wrinkles from around the edge. We've got two little veins at the top here, you can see, that we need to get over. They're quite tricky to do. And then we need to feed it into the gutters on the roof rails at the top so that we can cut it later on. But it's a case of just slowly working at it. Don't apply too much pressure. These roofs are not mega strong on here. Where we've got these little rails at the back in the middle, these little humps, I just put a snip at the very back of them with my Tamiya decal scissors, just so I could use a cotton bud and roll it over and get them to set properly, and it worked absolutely fantastic. There's a little square hole at the back where the shark fin antenna goes as well, so make sure you put a little slice in that and use your decal solutions to push it in. As you can see, that decal is laying down absolutely beautiful. Really well. A little bit of heat. I would recommend heat on the F80 BMW. I put no heat on it, 2K'd it the next day, and had water under the decal, and it kind of ruined my carbon roof. So lesson learned on that one. This one we're going to leave for a few days after we're done and apply plenty of heat. Once we're happy with the decals well and truly down, we're going to get a brand new scalpel blade in our scalpel, and using the roof rail, we're just going to lightly follow it and just lightly cut that decal so it fits absolutely perfect on the roof. Be very careful, take your time here. And once you get the decal off, there we go. Get your decal pen with some solutions on again, and just burnish it down into the line itself. And repeat for the other side, and that's the roof done. Really nice decal, looks absolutely fantastic. Like I say, it doesn't fit absolutely perfect, but it looks good. There's also two carbon trims that go either side of the front windscreen as well. They just sit on the edge, so pop them on, get the moisture out from behind as before, hit them with your decal solution. Don't move them like that. If you do, get them back in place quick as you can. I would then leave this for at least a couple of days to make sure the decal is fully dry. And then we can get our clear coat down, which is my choice of 2K's Pro Scale. Now, I pre-record this as a separate video, so I'm just going to put it on the end of a matter of course. If you've already seen the video, you can skip it. If not, you can sit and watch it now. Okay, today I'm going to do a run through on how to use our Pro Scale Paint 2K clear coat set. In our set for £12, you get a 60ml clear coat, 30ml activator, and a 30ml thinner. It's mixed in a 2-to-1 ratio of clear coat to activator with a 5% addition of thinner at the end of the mix. I'll run through in a minute how to mix it and some spraying guidelines as well, and I'll run through and show you how I clear coat one of my models. Now, the most important thing of clear coats, 2K especially, but this is applicable to all paints, is safety. A good respirator with a fresh filter. Keep your filters in a bag to keep them fresh as well. You need a good extractor as well for fresh filtering to make sure you're extracting all those fumes out. Make sure you've got a bit of ventilation in the room. Wear gloves. I would suggest double gloving with nitrile gloves using 2K. Keep all your skin covered. And above all, make sure you're in the room by yourself. You've got no family or pets. And once you're done with your clear coat, put it in your clear box or case or whatever to keep the dust off it, and vacate the room for a couple of hours while it off gases, because you don't want to be breathing in any of those vapors. So my usual clear coat regime is to clear out the spray booth, put some fresh paper down, a fresh filter in. I've got my box to the left for storing the clear coated body in to reduce the amount of dust that goes on there. I also wet the tissue paper with some water out of a spray gun. The theory of this is if any dust lands, it will settle onto the water-soaked kitchen paper rather than flying back up in the air and sticking to your model. Seems to work well for me, but I think keep all the rubbish out your spray booth, get any bottles out of there, any storage units, get all your airbrushes out of there, and keep it nice and clean for your clear coat. Now, as I explained, the clear coat is a 3-part system. There's a clear coat, an activator, and a thinner. So today we're going to be mixing 6ml of clear with 3ml of activator. That's the 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts clear and 1 part activator. And then we're going to be adding 5% of thinners to that combined total of the activator and clear coat. So I'll run through it now for us. So this is our clear coat going in first. So we're going to pop in 2 parts of this. So we're going to put in 6ml of this using the graduated medicine cups. Also make sure you use good quality medicine cups because it can interfere with the thinner on the clear coat. So 6ml of clear. We're then going to add in 3ml of the activator. So 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts clear, 1 part mix of activator. And then that is a combined total of 9ml. So we're going to add in there 5%, which would be 0.45ml. Now, you don't need to be absolutely perfect on the thinner. You need to be as accurate as possible on the activator and clear. But on the thinner, it's not critical that you're exact, but try and be as close to the mark as you can. Now, what I tend to do is pick up my thinner required. So there's the 1/2 ml of thinner in there. And then I let it suck up, and then I'm going to mix the activator and clear coat to get it all mixed and get the chemical reaction started. And then once that's mixed, I'm going to add the thinner in there, like so. And then we're going to mix it up again. And that way we mix everything properly, and we only use 1 pipette. The pipette is going to be 1 use only. And if you do use pipettes for picking up any of the solutions, you're going to use that pipette once, because you don't want to contaminate the other bottles with each one of these solutions, because once this is mixed, that's it, you've got to use it. I would highly recommend straining all your clear coats, whether it be Pro Range or whatever make it is, through a 190 micron paint strainer. We do sell these at Pro Scale as well. There's the instructions for mixing. So like I say, we mix 2 parts clear, 1 part activator, stir until mixed, then add 5% thinner to the clear activator total volume and mix. Read our supplied instruction sheet that comes with every order, and then application, we will spray at 20 to 25 psi. I personally spray at about 25 psi. First coat on this, we're going to apply a semi-wet coat. So no initial tack coat, we're going straight in with a semi-wet coat. So we're not going in fully hosing it on. We just want a nice level of clear coat down. We then let it flash off for 5 minutes. Put it in our box for 5 minutes. Let the first initial clear coat flash off. Then we come back and apply a full wet coat. So That way we're putting down the full wet coat, and we should get a really good finish off that. Pop it back in your box for 60 seconds, let it self-level as 2K does. Get it back out, have a look. If you can see any imperfections, any orange peel, or any ripples in it, give it another light coat all over where you think it requires it. Pop it back in your box for 60 seconds, check and reapply if needed. Basically, what you see at the end of the 2K session is how it's going to dry. So this is your chance to get rid of all those imperfections. It is a fine line between getting rid of the orange peel and getting a run. So take your time and apply light coats, let it set up for 60 seconds and check and reapply as needed. First step, we've got our model. It's been painted, everything's been done to it. If there's any decals on it or washers applied, I would wait at least 24 to 48 hours, the latter being the better, to make sure everything is fully dry. We've got our Tamiya anti-static brush here, and we're just going to go around and wipe all the model off nice and clean. As you can see, we've got a mixture of different paint finishes here and a nice carbon roof there as well. We've got my Iwata 0.5mm Revolution. We're at 25 psi, and we are loaded up with our 2K. This is our first semi-wet coat. So as you can see, we're holding it about 4 to 6 inches away from the model. It's a nice wide pattern on the 0.5mm needle nozzle. And as you can see, we get a nice wet coat down without putting it on too wet. And if you think you need a little bit more, you just go over it again. Judgment here and use will get you better at spraying this, basically. You'll get to know how much you need to put down for the coverage. You can also slow down and speed up your passes as well. That will put more paint down. But basically, the more you do this, the better you'll get. Don't be nervous of using it. It is quite forgiving. Just follow our safety precautions and follow my guidelines here, and you should be all good. But what we're looking for is just a nice, even first coat. You can see that we've got a nice semi-gloss finish. It's not quite perfect. There is orange peel in it. And we're going to apply that all over until it's nice and even, and then we'll let that flash off for 5 minutes. So it's just a case of going around all the car, getting all those nooks and crannies, making sure we're getting every panel line covered. The bottom of the sills is often missed. I'm quite guilty of doing that. That's why I'm going over them again there. On the back side of the car, make sure you get under all the little nooks and crannies underneath. This is the important thing. It's getting every inch or every square millimetre on a model of clear coat. We just want that nice, even coat all over. So you can see how much I'm putting down. It is more than with usual 2K clears. The first coat on a normal 2K is just a light tack coat. On this one, it calls for a semi-wet, and I'll tell you, it works very, very well. So we are putting down a little bit more paint of clear coat, but it does work out faster, quicker, and easier because we don't have to remix a second batch of clear coat like I've been doing lately with other 2Ks. It's only a 5-minute flash off time, so it's a lot faster. And I'm finding this 2K is laying down absolutely beautiful and not looking overly thick either. Make sure you're getting your wheel arches as well. And there we go. There's our first coat. I'm happy with that. I'm using a light in my spray booth just to look and make sure everything is pretty even all over. Once I'm happy with that, we're going to pop it in our booth. We've got a little plastic box to the left. There's got vents in it as well. A couple of holes with some mesh on. We'll pop that in there for 5 minutes and let that flash off. And basically that's going to let the first lacquer coat flash off and lose its thinner, basically is the way it works. Second one, we're in now, it's 5 minutes later, and we're going to put down a slower, more purposeful wet coat. So this is our first true full wet coat here. And again, we're not hosing it on. We're making sure we're going over with overlapping passes to keep that wet edge. Again, we've still got a little bit of a distance from the model. The 0.5's got a great pattern on it. And there we go. Absolutely spot on. Just get the bottom edge of that sill. And again, repeat the other side. And like I say, the more you do this, the better you will get. You will get more confident in doing it. You'll get better at doing it. You'll learn how much 2K you need to put down. And each one will get better and better. And for me, this is one of my best 2K jobs I've done to date. It worked really well. And this car looks absolutely beautiful. With the Pro Range Snapper Rocks Blue underneath the 2K, it looks absolutely fabulous. As you can see, the 2K has gone down on the second coat, absolutely perfect. And again, on the back end, and obviously, it is a fine line between getting that perfect clear coat and putting too much down. And if you put too much down, you'll get a run. The clear will run. You'll end up with a big blob of clear coat running down the body. So it's a case on this very first wet coat to not go too mad. And this is where I was putting it back in the box for 60 seconds and letting it self-level itself will pay off in dividends. As you can see, we get a nice wet coat down on the roof. And then continue on the bonnet. Now, dust is the main enemy of 2K. It is terrible. The slightest dust will stick in it, but the beauty of 2K is it dries rock hard, it sands really well and polishes up really easy. So you can sand back and flat out any dust spots and what have you or imperfections. But that's a pretty good wet coat. I'm quite happy with that. There are still spots of orange peel. So we're going to pop it back in its box for another 90 seconds and let that clear coat flash off. While it's in there, it will self-level a little bit and lose a bit more of that orange peel. And we'll pop it back out, have a little look where it's needed. I think, yeah, just need another light coat all over. Now, the idea of flashing off is that the clear coat gets nice and tacky. So when you come back with more paint, the paint sticks to it and doesn't run, which is the beauty of 2K clear coat. I'm just going to go around all over it again. Let's give it another light pass over. Looks like there's a lot of paint going down. There's not that much going down really. Like I say, R2K is so forgiving. It's really, really easy to use. And as you see at the end, the finish is just spectacular. Really, really good. Again, just angling the light, having a look where it's needed. Just needs a quick go over on the boot lid. The same on the top as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another light coat down. Pop it back in its box for another 90 seconds. Then have a little look and see how she looks after that 90 seconds. So the best thing you can do here is while you're doing it is, as we're doing lighter coats so we don't go OTT, is use your light in your booth. I've got some very good light in here for filming, and it's very good for spotting imperfections in paint, orange peel and what have you. And as you say, just move it around and I'm angling it towards the light and looking for any areas that aren't quite as glossy as others. And places that I always miss are the front and back of the roof, where it hits the windscreen and the rear window, the rear edge of the bonnet by the windscreen, the lower edge of the sills, and the top of the doors are some of the places I always miss. So like I said, the more you do this, the more you get used to knowing how you spray. And like I say, angling it towards the light will help you see where you've not quite got enough, or maybe you've got a little bit too much you need to be wary of for your next pass. But that's gone down really well. It's self-leveling really, really well. I think it's just going to need another light pass over after being in the booth for 90 seconds. So you can see a little bit of orange peel on the roof still. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a pass just to make sure it all evens out. There you go. There's my little piece on the back of the bonnet. And we're going to do the whole thing as well. Like I say, it is forgiving. You can push it a lot more than you think. Don't be afraid of putting more down. But the key here is a little bit of a break. Just have a 60-second just wait and have a little look. So I'm just looking around. See, absolutely beautiful clear coat. Looking really well. Happy with that. And I'm going to put that back in its box. Let it sit for another 90 seconds and then we'll pull it out and have a little look at what we've got. So here we go. Let's have a little look. That's looking pretty good to me. We've got a nice even clear coat everywhere. Now, like I said, top of the doors is always a spot I tend to miss. So quick go over. Like I say, the bottom of the sills is always an area I miss. The roof looks great at the front and rear, as does the bonnet on its leading edge. But the top of those doors is a spot I always seem to miss, and it is a high gloss black on these BMWs, so it's quite an important area to get. And the bottom of the sills and the front and rear underneath the bumper are areas I tend to miss as well. So like I say, angle your light angle the model so you can see the light hitting it, and it will show any imperfections there. But you can see how well that's self-leveled from being in the box just for that 90 seconds. If you see anywhere that's just got a hint of orange peel, don't be afraid to put a little bit more down, because as I say, as you see this now, if you leave this as it is, this is how it will dry. This is how this stuff works. As you see it now is how it will dry. So if you have orange peel, that's how it's going to dry. So with a quick tidy up, clean the airbrush out. This is about 3 minutes later. And we're having one last final inspection before we sign off. We've got a bit of dust in the roof, which is a real shame. It's just one of those things. But overall, it looks really, really good. Real nice glossy finish all over. Other than dust, we've got no orange peel, no flaws in the paint at all. It's looking really, really good. We've got a beautiful clear coat all over it. Very, very nice. We've done our door handles to the side as well. We've got lots of carbon bits, but they'll be done at a later date in my build series, which you'll see later on. And then this is about 4 hours later. And yeah, it's dried really well. This is touch dry right now. 4 hours later, it's touch dry. I won't be over handling it, but it is touch dry. As you see, we've got a beautiful clear coat, nice and even all over. Very, very happy with that. Now, I know a lot of criticism of 2K is it's too thick. This is a thin, nice thin finish. Once this is flatted back with some Trizic pads and polished up with the UMP polishing system, this will look fantastic. It'll really look nice and shiny. You'll get rid of all those dust spots and it'll lose all any imperfections left behind. This is about 8 hours later. As you can see, the colour looks absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely made up with that colour. I knew the blue would be my favourite colour. Obviously, we've got the Daytona Violet one as well, because we're working on 2 of these at the same time. But the Snapper Rocks blue looks fantastic. The carbon roof looks great. The clear coat is fantastic. And there we go. That's how I use our Pro Scale paints